Not that
Is that what you used to use all the time, Jim?
No, never used
Look at
that.
that blue, isn't that nice? Oh, my father used to.
Used these before. These
Are they good?
They're not bad.
With hooks, they're even better, huh?
Yeah, they kind of work with hooks. If there's no hooks on them, John, you're in trouble. You can't even catch grass.
You know what? There's another one. Jan's got another one there.
Yeah.
There was a place down in Spokane called the White Elephant. I don't know if you ever went to that
No.
in Spokane. That's where they used to sell these.
Yeah.
And they used them in Coeur d'Alene Lake. Now there, I think, is a Canadian mater. That's made out of brass.
That's an oldie, that.
But look at now, the fish could twist and turn on that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They'd never get loose.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The swivels.
Polish that up, and I bet she'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
No name on it.
There's brass.
Yeah. There's a size on it, no name. Isn't that something?
So you're collecting all these as you go? You know,
Yeah,
like as when you find them?
Where in the world do you find them? Garage sales and that?
Yeah, because really they'd be no good to anybody.
Well,
Unless
not in
you're
the
a
interior.
collector.
Not in the interior. Look at that neat one. That one came out of Shuswap Lake, the one you just had your hand on, Jan, the striped one, like a
This one?
yeah, came out of Shuswap Lake. They troll those that big over there, and those for those
Well, they
camels.
do here. Yeah. In Courtney too.
Oh yeah,
That must be an oldie, eh?
yeah. Look at the brass on it.
Yeah, that is an old one. Yeah. These plugs there, they're pretty good.
Look at the size of the hook. My
Yeah.
grandfather was a commercial fisherman
Where
on
did
Lake
it
Yeah.
Superior,
go?
and he said he'd only use single hooks. He didn't
Yeah.
like treble hooks. He says,
Well, treble hooks are too much trouble for the commercial fishermen to get off.
Too hard to get out.
Yeah,
of
that
there.
takes too much time.
Oh, yeah.
But this is good. This is good for spring salmon.
Yeah.
Any of those are good for spring, actually.
Seen that one before.
Yeah, just lift them out
Yeah.
of there. Don't worry about the order they're in. Just pull them out.
Yeah,
There's
you
another
got a
one
few
with that
there,
same
man.
hook.
Yeah,
That's a weird.
yeah,
That looks old too, doesn't it?
yeah.
Think
It
it's
is.
battered around in the lakes a while.
Probably. RB with a crown. Right there.
I believe that comes out of Quebec.
Probably. Sounds like a Frenchman.
Comes out of Quebec.
Wow, my father used to make a lot with little dots on. What were they called, Ernie? Like these plugs, but they had all little dots on them.
Oh, I forget. There's an old one too,
But they
John.
used to sit and carve them out of wood.
Willow
Yeah,
leaf.
yeah,
An
My
old
uncle
willow
and-
leaf.
That's a willow leaf. You're
Yeah.
right. That is a willow leaf. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about what, 2.5 inches long? Fairly large
Well,
one.
Yeah.
which is the Willie's warbler? Didn't they use that a lot?
Williams?
William.
Willie's?
Willie's warbler?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a great one
Don't you
back
have
there.
one of
He
those?
hasn't got one.
Yeah. I have one in the other house. I just
Yeah.
bought one. You want to get one? They have them on
Oh,
sale
yeah.
for $2 down at the sport
Oh.
shop. That's a weirdo.
Yeah, I never seen
That must be a
one.
winter fishing thing, you know?
That's a homemade lure.
Got the little round disc on it. Look where you attach the line on it, though.
Yeah.
On the top, I believe, isn't it? Or they're right there.
This is the number 5
I imagine that would go through
willow
the
leaf
water
made in
nice.
the USA.
Hey, don't you think that would go through the water nice with that
Oh, yeah.
flat? Probably just go straight through the
Yeah.
water.
No, it wouldn't go straight.
Plain.
'cause
The tail is
bad.
curved, yeah. I think it's designed to go in a circle.
Yeah, that is
But
from-
you like those Trixorinos, huh? The one you just picked up?
Oh yeah, that's good. There's no daredevils in. All weedless.
I believe it's a marathon. See if
It
I'm
is,
right.
yeah. Weedless marathon.
That one was definitely Wisconsin. When we were kids in Minnesota, a lot of our tackle came out of Wisconsin.
And your little duck.
Yeah, that's cute,
My
eh?
quacker. See how there's two eye pieces up here to attach
Yeah.
your line to? I figure
Oh,
if I
yeah.
put it there, it'll cruise along flat on the water. But if I put my line up here, maybe when I pull,
It'll dig.
it'll dive. Yeah, and it'll look like
Yeah.
a little duck diving. And the propellers on the back there, those little copper
Yeah.
blades are their feet.
One time in Sault Ste. Marie,
Yeah.
I had a cottage right on the water. I used to go fishing every night. Big northern pike in there. And there was a place where the logging companies used to tie up their booms,
Mm-hmm.
like a log yard. And always a bunch of ducks there, little ducks, mother with little ones.
Yeah.
And this one mother duck, she must have had about 10 or 12 this year.
Yeah.
And every day one would disappear. And I actually seen a northern pike or a muskie, whatever, one or the other, come up and grab one.
Just was there and then it was gone.
It's gone.
In Minnesota, there would be a duck, a mother duck, and we know both of us that they raise 12 or 14 usually. They lay that many eggs. There'd be 2 or 3, that's all. By the end of the summer, there'd be 2 or 3 little ducklings following around. But one of the bad ones there was the snapping turtles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, snapping turtles would get those in Minnesota.
Yeah. Did you ever eat turtle soup?
No.
Beautiful.
Is it?
Oh, fantastic.
Huh.
Yeah, I used to work in the tobacco fields back in Ontario there.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to get the guys that cured the tobacco. They come up from Carolina and Virginia.
They know what they're doing.
They come up for the season, and they catch these snap turtles and make soup of them.
Oh, yeah?
Man, was it ever good.
Is it? Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I caught one time.
I've caught them.
On a spoon.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I've caught them by hand.
Oh, I was jigging a spoon off this rock bluff on the edge of the shore, and I felt this weight, and then it started swimming away, and then I fought with it, and my scoutmaster came along, and this was a scouting trip, and he said, "What you got?" And I said, "I got a snapping turtle." He says, "Well, you be sure to kill that." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, because it eats lots of fish and ducks."
Well, they eat lots of fish. Yeah.
So we killed it, and I skinned it all out. I took the meat out.
You
And
should
we
have
never
cooked
used it.
Oh, you should have.
Nobody.
Waste.
After I did that, I couldn't eat it, but nobody else wanted to eat it either.
Yeah, there's an old too, John.
It's like butchering a pig. It's better if somebody else butchers your pig.
Oh, yeah.
It's better to eat it.
I don't want to kill it, though.
What, a snapping turtle? I know. I wouldn't now.
No, they gotta live too.
Yeah.
Want to hand me that cup up there, Jan, with that one with Keith on it?
With what?
The mug with Keith on it.
Keith.
Oh, I don't think you'll even see the picture of that.
Oh, is there a picture of somebody with a fish?
Yeah,
Oh,
my
yeah.
fishing buddy.
Pretty worn out, the
Oh,
cup now.
Mm.
Actually, I was going to just
Yeah.
use it for pencils now.
that's a lingcod, isn't it?
That
Yeah.
sure is. Biggie.
How much? Has he got it
36
hanging?
pound breast.
Is he lifting it with his arm?
No, we got it on the.
I hope so, yeah.
We got it on the downrigger on the side of the boat.
Yeah, I see it
But
hanging.
just see how tall it is from the edge of the boat,
Uh-huh.
just about touching the
Yeah.
pavement.
Oh, yeah, it is beyond
Yeah.
to look at there.
Yeah, it was 43 inches
That
long.
must have looked like something coming up out
Oh.
of the depths.
Teeth, man.
Ugly, huh? But they're delicious, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
I've heard that. And there's a season on them now down there.
There is now, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my old fishing buddy. We took the cat, the big tomcat. We could have put a cat in its mouth. It was that big.
I'll bet that tomcat would have been scratching and
Yeah.
clawing away.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
got quite a
that thing was
collection, John.
almost as tall as I was. wasn't
Yeah,
it?
just about.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well,
We
I got
took
some.
Jan's shoulder.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I got some questions here. Okay. You were a commercial fisherman at the coast here, right?
Not commercial. We done some
Charter
chartering.
fisherman?
Yeah.
You hired out for
Done
people?
some charting, yeah.
Yeah. How long did you do that?
How long, Jan? About 8 years?
Yeah.
About 8 years.
First of all, we better say who it is we're talking to.
Ernie Pearsone.
Yeah. This is John Sanders. Ernie's a Swede.
I guess so.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Too far
And you
back
grew
to
up
be-
in Ontario, though,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Northern Ontario, Southern Ontario, yeah.
around Sault Ste. Marie.
Sault Ste. Marie.
This summer we went along that area on our trip. We went around the lake.
Did you?
We flew to Thunder Bay. You can fly to
Oh,
Thunder
yeah.
Bay now.
Oh, I
You're
know.
not
Yeah,
west
for a
yet.
long time.
And then we drove down to Wawa. We
Yeah.
had relatives.
Oh, wow.
Then we went down to Sault Ste. Marie. and then we went across at Espinal
Espinal?
to Manitoulin Island.
Oh, yeah.
And on beautiful. And went across on Manitoulin Island. We stayed at a bed and breakfast there. Then we went on that Kiwi-Watan or whatever, that ferry.
You went across to the Bruce Peninsula.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's where all our relatives are from.
Is that
My
right?
relatives and Marcy's relatives on my mother's side and her father's side.
Geez, Ernie, you think you know somebody up there?
Well, Bruce Peninsula, I probably wouldn't. Well, who's your relatives in Sault Ste. Marie?
No, not there. At Wawa.
Wawa.
Gosh, what is? Oh, Kiernan. He was he worked at the mine there, and he was
Worked for Tribag Mines?
There's a big mine north of there a little bit.
Yeah, Tribag. Oh, there's up at Hawk Junction. There's a big mine too.
But it closed, and then he became a night watchman or something, or a security guard. And what the heck is his name? It's a common name. It's a shirt-tail relative of Marcy on her side there. Her name is Kieran, and I think his name was John.
I don't remember that name. Oh, he wouldn't be at Hawk Junction. He'd be at Elliott Lake. That's where the mine closed, the uranium mine.
No, it was a aluminum or steel mine.
Steel. Algoma? Agawam Canyon?
That sounds.
Agawam Canyon.
That sounds familiar. Agawam Canyon. Yeah, that sounds.
Yeah, the mines up in there.
Anyway, our Marcy's Tranters and my Trelford. My mother's maiden name was Trelford. They were down at Arthur.
Yeah.
And Tara.
I've heard of that name too.
And Southampton.
Oh yeah, I know where that is.
Yeah. That was the general area where they were, and we had a reunion. Then we went down to Sarnia. Yeah. Crossed over and came up through Michigan, up to the north. And then I met some of my school chums in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. They moved there. And then we came back to Duluth, and then across, after visiting with my folks there, we went up to Thunder Bay and flew back. Right around the lake.
Yeah, that'd be quite a trip.
Oh, it was 6 weeks.
Yeah, quite a trip. That's quite a drive down through the north part of Lake Superior there.
That North Shore.
Yeah, I lived in Sault Ste. Marie for 19 years.
So were you born there?
No, I was born in Woodstock, Ontario.
Oh.
Down near London.
I thought the Sioux was a nice area.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Cold. Oh, and a lot more snow than ever get around here.
I'll bet it wasn't as cold as Thunder Bay.
Well, I've seen Jan and I out working 50 below zero chill factor.
Really?
And that's not the Celsius, that's Fahrenheit.
Yeah, that's much more. That's much more.
Yeah, I used to sell home improvement back there, right?
Oh.
And Jan would canvas for me.
Oh. Huh.
And we'd sell vinyl siding and window stuff.
Yeah.
Her knocking doors at 50 below zero Fahrenheit. Wind chill factor.
With the wind coming off the
Lake Superior.
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay. Did you have any brothers or sisters?
I had 9 brothers and 2 sisters.
Yeah. Quite a family.
Not many living now, no, John.
Quite a family. That's a big family.
Yeah, not too many living.
Okay, now that if you were fishing back there, you would be fishing for northerns and pickerel and
rainbow trout.
In that really?
Lake Superior, yeah.
Those big ones in the St. Mary's River?
Well, never fished St. Mary's River because I didn't like the pollution from the mills.
Oh.
We used to fish northern pike in Whitefish Bay.
Yeah.
That's above the mills.
That's where the.
But the big rainbows, we used to go up to Chippewa Falls, and a little creek called Stokely Creek.
Yeah. And they were out of the lake, were they?
Out of the lake.
Oh,
heck, 8 and 10, 12 pounders.
Oh,
nice rainbow trout, big.
I caught just one out of Lake Superior.
Oh.
It came up. It was in the very first pool out of the lake, and it tried to get back to the lake too on me, and I hooked it.
Well, what they used to do back there, John, you've heard of lampreys.
Oh, yeah,
you know what they are?
Sea lampreys.
Yeah, well, they put an electric weir across the river, so the lamprey couldn't get up above. It would shock them, kill them.
Yeah,
the fish could still get up.
Yeah.
But the fish, the big rainbows, used to pool up below this weir.
Oh, yeah.
That's where we used to catch them. Oh,
yeah.
Never
Fight
forget.
too, don't they?
Oh,
Oh,
fight.
gee, they jump.
I never forget one time. Oh, I was only, not even 17, I think. 16, 17. I'm walking out.
Don't be telling about phone.
No, wouldn't do a thing like that. But I'm walking out this Stokely Creek. There's a little road, maybe 300-400 yards long, before you got to the river. Two of us.
Yeah.
And I'm dragging this big rainbow down like this, just touching the ground, about 2.5 feet long.
Huh.
And these Americans come up, stopped, backed up. Where'd you get that? I was just up here at the creek. Says, what are you using? Oh, golf tee.
Oh, you'd cut those orange golf tees?
Well, we used to buy them.
Oh, yeah?
You'd buy them. They're like a fluorescent, like this here plug here.
Yeah.
But they were red, orange, whatever they were.
Yeah.
And there'd be 2 golf tees on this with the hooks. Just cast out.
No spinner, nothing? Just
a little spinner on it.
Yeah, yeah.
And this Yankee, he, have you got any more of those? Will you sell it to me? He gave me $10 for it.
Yeah?
Yeah, he could have went down the store and got one for $1.50. I don't know if they ever caught a fish with it or not. But I was just lucky that I caught one.
I had to pedal my bike out of town there in Duluth. Duluth is right on the extreme end of the lake.
I know, I've been there.
So I had to pedal my bike out about 7 miles out the highway to the first stream that was any good.
Yeah.
And one day I was out there and I had my bamboo fly rod and I had a can of worms, night crawlers, and I had some big number 6 hooks, big hooks. And I went to this, what we call the forced in pool. It was the first pool out of the lake. There's a little sort of a runoff, then a lot of gravel, formed in the flood in the spring, and then the lake. So I'm fishing in that lake, in that pool, and I feel this little bitty tap, 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 like a tiny trout. Tap, tap, tap. Set the hook, and whoopee. And it was about a 3.5 pounder. Not a huge one, 3.5
Nice one.
But a nice one. I finally got him in, and I tossed my worm in again and drifted down. Tap, tap, tap. Darn, there was 2 of them there. At least maybe more, but I got him too. So this is a little smaller. The big one hit first, and then the little smaller one hit. Yeah. So I'm coming into town, and I got my bicycle, and I got one hanging off one side of my handlebars and one hanging off the other. Darned if one car almost went in the ditch. You saw this little kid coming along, I was about 13 or 14, with these 2 steelhead hanging down from this thing. Good memories. Good memories about those old fishing days, those trips.
Yeah.
My dad couldn't believe it, that I'd caught that.
Well, they're there, if you're lucky enough to get them.
But, kids, they get to know the streams. They're there all the time. They spend a lot more time on the streams than those weekend fishermen, so they know where the holes are. And they, when we lost a fish, sometimes we would come back time after time for it. The ones that stayed in the river all the time. And we finally get it. One of us, me or Norman Jacobson, one of the other of us get it. Well, where did you go for northerns then? In that big St. Mary's Lake? Or what?
Well, the above the steel mill there in the St. Mary's River, there's sort of a bay. There was Whitefish Bay, and then there's a place called Grocap. And there was another smaller bay just before you got into the mill, and there's some big holes in there. And I knew where they were. Well, I had to find them, but I finally found them. My an uncle of mine, through my first wife, he was out fishing with me one day, and we were trolling along. He had his hands down like this in the water,
Cooling off.
Yeah, you know how a guy trails the water. Yeah. He lost them 3 fingers right across there. Snap.
Ooh.
Big muskie.
Ooh.
Yeah. Boy, did he ever bleed that day. Yeah.
Well, my dad had one clamped down. I had to pry it off his fingers, but it was a 10-pound northern.
You want to have some fun sometime? You get about an 8-pound coho.
Yeah.
And have a treble hook in them. And one of the hooks in him and one in your leg.
Oh.
I had one in him and one up right about here.
Oh, painful.
And my partner caught the fish. 2 of us in the boat. It's painful. He had to operate and cut it out.
Oh, gosh.
You remember that, Jen?
I've never done it.
You weren't with Keith and I when he done that.
No, I wasn't there that day.
Boy, was that sore.
Keith was your fishing partner.
Yeah, that's the guy in the cup.
Yeah.
He hasn't been fishing since we left the island. 5 years
You.
ago. Well, he used to go on my boat all the time. He's got a boat.
Yeah. Huh.
Never uses it.
Yeah, he misses you probably.
Well,
it's not as much fun fishing by yourself.
Oh.
I've found that out. I just don't enjoy fishing by myself anymore. As
Well,
a kid, I could, but not now.
We sold our boat at the right time because that year there was hardly any fish caught. There hasn't been many caught since. Well, we got our share. Probably somebody else's too.
Did you ever catch halibut, or did you mostly go
Never
for
caught
salmon?
one, John.
Never
caught
time
never
over
caught a halibut.
Huh.
Caught a few flounder.
Huh.
Caught some nice bass, black bass.
Oh yeah.
North end of the island.
Do you know they're fishing for those with flies now?
Oh, I know. Well,
Right along
beautiful
the-
fishing.
Yeah, they're fishing
Yeah.
with heavy saltwater flies and casting with heavy sinking lines and
Yeah.
going after.
We used to bucktail for salmon.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
fly
I
about
know
that
what you
long.
mean.
Yeah. We used to do that quite a bit.
It's usually two hooks in the fly, one trailing and one
Yeah.
in the front.
Yeah.
And the one in the front has most of the gear tied on it,
Yeah.
like the feathers and the hair. Yeah.
Yeah, we'd
I've
have.
been told to try that. They say it's just great.
Well, if you ever try it, you're moving along about 10 knots, a little faster than you would for salmon, and you have your bucktail in the wake,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 30, 40 feet out
That's
from the
all?
boat.
That's all.
That's all.
You're not afraid of the boat.
You keep them in that wake, because
Huh.
that's where your salmon will be.
They come up to see what's going on in the wake, do they?
That's where they'll come.
Yeah.
Well, your wake stirs up the feed in the water.
Oh, okay.
People don't realize that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We never used to fish way out 300 or 400 yards. We'd go down anywhere from 12 to 30 feet
Uh-huh.
and out maybe 40.
That's it.
That's it.
Ah. Well, we always troll with our lines way the heck back.
Yeah, I
By
know.
the
Most
time-
people do.
By the time we got our lines back, the puffins got our herring. Those dirty little rascals, you know.
Yeah.
You'd see them, you'd go by, and then they'd come along and go plop in the water, you know. They must be able to see that stuff way down there.
Sure they
Because you'd feel a little tap
Yeah.
tap.
can.
The
Herring's
charter
gone.
captain say, better bring her in.
It's gone. But Jan used to do most of the fishing. Jan and Keith, all I done was drive the boat because I couldn't balance myself in the boat, eh?
Yeah.
But then Keith and I go out once in a while by ourselves.
But mostly trolling. But for those lingus, you jig.
Oh, with G.
What do you use then?
Oh, I'm not going to tell you. Not on that
was
tape,
a
I'm not going
a secret weapon. That's
weapon,
okay.
Larry.
That's okay. Huh?
About that long.
Oh, yeah, you don't say that.
No. Well, anyway, I was jigging over in what South Betnick arm of Bella Coola country there.
Yeah.
You know, you go out from Bella Coola and
Yeah.
go South Betnick arm.
Never fished
was
up
a
there. I know
real
where it
trip.
is.
And I was jigging one of these big Norwegian leaded jigs.
Norwegian, Swedish
Triple.
pimple.
Yeah, it looks like a
Yeah.
Swedish pimple.
I used them many times.
Yeah, and it had a little red job right next to the hook.
Yeah.
Man, you had to drop that thing. I mean, it was deep.
That's
Yeah.
work.
250 feet or 300 feet
Yeah.
down, and those, and some of them weighed
Yeah.
a pound, but I preferred the 8 ouncer because I had to reel that up. I had a 15-pound test line and a spinning reel, big spinning reel full of that line, and we caught. First fish I caught was a 4-foot long
Yeah.
gray cod,
Oh, yeah.
and the guy says, "You got a good fish, good eating fish." He said. And then so I got that one in the cooler, and then the next one I dropped down, I got a red snapper.
Red snapper? Oh, they're beautiful eating.
You ever
Right.
get a green ling? Green
No.
ling cod?
No.
You never seen one?
God.
Oh, the most beautiful
They're
eating fish you ever
green.
had.
Oh,
You skin them,
yeah.
and like fillet them, and the meat is actually green. See that plant, John? It's as green as that plant, the meat.
Huh.
And when you cook it, it turns snow white.
Doesn't it turn you off that it's green when you're?
It did at first.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah.
But then when you taste it,
Oh, it's
Makes
beautiful.
all-
We had telling about John.
Jim.
Jim.
This friend of mine, when we first moved to Courtney, I didn't have a boat at the time. He took me out fishing one night. And we're going after lingcod. And all I was doing was netting them.
Yeah.
He taught me how to catch lingcod.
Yeah.
Well, he had me laughing so hard. I was kneeling at the bottom of the boat, and I wasn't just wet from the water at the bottom of the boat. I was laughing so hard.
No kidding.
Oh, it was unreal. But he caught 3 or 4 nice-sized lingcod, and then he caught a couple of these greenlings and some rock cod. But he wouldn't eat the greenlings because he didn't like to color them. But he'd give them to this here Norwegian friend of his, and he'd eat them.
And he took it with a big smile.
Oh, did he ever? I found out that night why. Because when we got to Jim's house, we cleaned the fish, and then Jim's wife said she was going to cook some up for us for supper. And I said, well, listen, I'll go in town and get Jan. I went in and got Jan, and we come out. They had some fish cooked up. They had these here greenling there, and
they were white now.
No, the ones we had never cooked them.
Oh.
They were going to give them to their friend.
Oh, okay.
You wouldn't cook.
So Jan says, why don't we cook one of them? Says, I think it'll change color.
Yeah.
And sure enough.
Yeah.
Had you heard about it?
No, but
never seen one before.
I had an idea. If you cook that, that'll turn white.
Kind of like
just
lobsters and stuff.
Yeah.
They change color,
So sure enough.
It's Snow White. They never give another away.
Now what made me think of that, I don't know.
It was just instinct. Huh?
Yeah.
Huh.
But was that ever
give another one away after
They never give another one away.
Oh, they're good eating.
They never got very big. You get
They're
one
the
4
best.
pounds, they're a big one. Yeah.
That reminds me of a story too. When I was a kid, we used to hunt ducks back there, and we could always be able to get mud coots, mud hens.
Yeah.
And they were like suckers.
Yeah.
Mud hens. So this old Norwegian or Swede, I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
He says, "I'll trade you a mallard for 3 mud hens."
Yeah.
I says, "Okay, sure." He says, in fact, do you want the rest of them or something like that? I forget the whole story, but along these lines, Anyway, he took our mud hens, and we were really happy to get a couple of mallards.
I guess so.
And so, but he knew how to cook them.
Yeah.
He knew how to cook them, and he says they were really good later on.
Well, a guy told me how to cook them. They're fish ducks one time. You call them mud hen, we call them fish ducks.
Yeah.
Says you stuff them with a carrot and an onion. When they're all done, you throw the duck away and eat the carrot and onion.
That's a recipe for carp too. You
Yeah.
put the carp in the oven on a board, nice clean white board, and then you cook it for an hour at 350 degrees, and then take it out, eat the board. Yeah.
Jewish people eat carp. They know how to prepare them good.
Yeah. Well, I was shooting them one day with my bow and arrow, and a lady with a really strong German or Austrian accent came down. She says, "I got chickens. I'd like to have those carp."
Yeah.
And I says, "Well, go ahead. I'm just going to leave them for the crows." She says, "Okay. Do you ever come in here anymore?" "Yeah." "When you coming?" Or something like that. And I found out later she wasn't feeding them to the chickens.
Eating
No
them
way.
themselves.
They considered a delicacy. Oh, it's just like anything. We all have our funny little ways.
Yeah. I was born and raised on a farm back in southern Ontario. And there used to be a small river. There was a branch off the Thames. And in the spring it used to flood.
Mm-hmm.
And the carp, there'd be carp all over the fields. And we'd gather them up. And we used to feed them to the pigs and the chickens. Yeah.
They love
and
them.
Big ones. Man, John, they were big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the scales on some of those
carp
are huge.
Yeah.
I mean, my arrows would bounce off a couple times if I didn't get them smack dab.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, Ernie. See this tray? I had a boat shaped like that tray. It was a putt. It could have been used for mixing cement, just a square box. And I could stand on the front, and I could stand there with my bow and arrow. And one day I plowed a big carp came up. Its head was as big as yours. It come out of the water, out of the deep, and I plowed my arrow right behind. I saw where it hit, and the thing towed me.
Is that right?
And he towed me, and he pulled the arrow out. I don't know how big that carp was, but gee, I can still see that. By far the biggest carp I ever saw. I got some that weighed 15 pounds.
Yeah.
Not that one. He just. I think we had more fun as kids. I don't know.
Oh,
it seemed like a day was a long time too. Remember, a day lasted forever. You'd start out doing different things, and I mean, I had this little stream that I could walk to before I had a bike. And there were these tiny brook trout in there. And those little things, I had more fun with them. You drop your worm in, and some little dark streak would come out from under the bank, grab it, and run back under the bank. And then you'd sit there and count, to 3 or something like that, pull it out. Pretty, just like little jewels. All those colors.
Yeah. Well, in all the time that I took people out fishing, not once did they ever go home skunked.
Oh.
They may not, they may not have caught a fish, but I had fish in the freezer.
Yeah. That was
Sam Tolson, you know him up the street
sure
here?
I do, yeah. Yeah.
Him and my brother, like Jan's brother, came over from Princeton here one time, came to Courtney. Beautiful weather, fantastic weather. Sam was there for 3 days. He enjoyed himself. But there's a limit on the size of springs you can catch. See, they had to be 24 and a half inches long.
Yeah.
And Sam caught more 21 and 22 inch fish than you could shake a stick at.
Yeah.
We still give him some fish to take home. It was in jars, some of them already canned.
Yeah.
I've had salmon shipped all over the world.
Huh.
Some went to London, England.
Yeah.
In fact, the neighbor, his daughter got married in England. He took a case of it over there, just like gold over there. And I don't know how much down in the States. And back to Ontario, John?
You'd think in Norway that a salmon would be reasonable.
Well, it's expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, like 7 and 8 kroner a pound.
Yeah.
Or no, that wasn't it. $7 or $8. Let's see,
well,
5 times that. 35 or 40 kroner a pound.
Well, it's like it's in Japan, see what you get for it.
Yeah.
My heavens.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, gooey ducks, commercially up there in Courtney. $80 a pound
Ugly.
for a gooey duck.
Those tough old ducks.
They're good eating. We just had some here the other day, made clam chowder out of it.
How
We haven't
do you
got
do
anything
that?
left, eh, Jan?
How do you do that, Jan?
They're all ground up.
Well, we had a friend that used to do it down,
yeah.
like she would chop it all up and can it
Oh.
and juice
Yeah.
and that in it, so it tastes just like clam.
You had clam chowder on the BC ferries years ago?
No, but I did have it on the Oregon coast, and it was good.
That's what they used to
Razor
on the BC ferries. Used to use it all the time.
Oh.
Gooey duck.
It tastes like
Yeah.
clam, right?
I got one gooey duck. I went out clamming,
Yeah.
and this big squirt, great
Yeah.
big squirt, and I went down, and they all kept saying, dig faster, he's
That's
going to
right.
get away from you, he's going to get away from you. Well, I was down to my elbows, not down to my shoulders, like this, in the hole.
You're lucky you got him.
He wasn't there.
Is that right?
He wasn't there. I came up and I felt this thing on the side of the hole.
Yeah.
I'd gone right by him.
Is that right?
I was like a badger. I went right down, right by him.
Is that
And he was halfway up. Well, I pulled him up and he had a neck. Oh, gee.
Oh,
A foot long anyway. And this isn't a big one. They told me it wasn't a big one.
Oh, I know.
And ugly.
Yeah.
And that neck was
They're awful
leathery.
ugly.
Oh, gee. It looked like a
Yeah.
rope. Anyway, so I took it home and we fried it.
Oh,
Just the way it was.
Well,
We couldn't even. We chewed
No,
for
no.
chewed.
we tried
chewed,
one time
chewed.
too,
Yeah.
but then,
you got to grind them up
Yeah.
and I think
and can them, pressure cook them.
they're done in the pressure cooker,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Can.
Wow,
I remember.
that explains
Yeah.
it because
Yeah.
I doubt if a coyote could have got away with it without chewing for 5 minutes on one of
It
those.
was like chewing a chunk of rubber, right?
Yeah.
We brought 3 or 4 pints over with us when we came
I
from
just
Courtney.
used
And
the
we just
last
used the last
one.
one the other day.
Huh. Yeah. You go back annually almost.
I never went
close.
back last year.
Oh,
We never went over last year.
you were feeling okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But like everything else, John, we went to Honolulu the year before, and you got to save your money for the next trip.
Boy, did that trip down to Ontario cost us bucks. Never, but never rent a car.
No.
We
What?
rent
Rent one
rented-
from here back?
No,
You
from
flew
Thunder
back.
Bay.
Oh, yeah.
And they wouldn't let us drop it off in Sarnia or anyplace.
You could have. You paid extra.
$250.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Yeah.
Then Marcy got sick,
All right.
and so it was extra 2 weeks on there.
Yeah.
And so that added on to it. But anyway, we had a good time. It was well worth the money, but it was expensive. I think we figured it was like $4,800 for that trip.
You can't take it with you, John. You might as well enjoy it.
I know. And my son's doing fine, so that's good. And he keeps saying that. Spend it, Dad, spend it. I says, okay, Carl, you got it.
I'm going to send all my kids a little card. Sorry about the inheritance, kids. We spent it.
I've seen a bumper sticker that says that.
Oh, I know.
There's one in town, right down in Halliford. The guy parks there.
Yeah.
Well, when you were chartering now, when I was chartering, I went out of a place called Nia Bay on the Olympic Peninsula.
Oh, yeah.
It was an Indian village out there.
Yeah.
And it was a shop teacher. He built this boat in the shop. Probably had half the kids in the shop working on it too. But he built this little boat and he'd charter out with 4 of us.
Yeah.
4 fishermen at a time. We got out there and that boat was not more than about 30 feet long, maybe 25 feet long. And we got out there and he says, it was foggy. He says, look for birds. I says, why?
Yeah.
Look for birds. He says,
right.
Look for birds. He says, my compass doesn't work. I said, your compass doesn't work. I says, Japan is the nearest thing in the wrong direction. I says, what the devil? And he said, no, my compass went on the fritz. He says, I was counting. So we found a buoy. We found a Coast Guard buoy, and we just fished around and around and around. And we got some, some pinks, I think they were called, and some coal. They call them silver down there.
Yeah.
They call them silver. Anyway, then the fog lifted, and sure enough, a little bird came and landed on he was tired of flying, he came in and landed on
the bow?
On the cab.
Oh, yeah.
On the cabin. And sat there.
Right.
I took a picture of him. You may be the last living thing other than us 4 that I see. I thought myself. Yeah. But then it flew away in the fog, and then some more boats came by, and he got his directions from them.
Well, if you ever go fishing for salmon, you watch for the birds.
Is that right?
Because that's where the salmon are.
They're eating the bait.
They're eating the herring.
Yeah.
Sure.
The seagulls and stuff. Yeah.
Jan and I have been out. You got to find the herring before you find the salmon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jan and I have been out in Grants Reef many times. And over where we used to fish at Grants Reef, maybe 30 feet deep. And sometimes less than that. But on the edge of the reef, I have seen schools of herring, 4 and 5 inches long. Half to a 3/4 of a mile long, 60 feet deep. Herring.
Packed.
Just packed.
Oh,
just
boy.
packed.
Yeah.
Seagulls in there by the million.
Yeah.
And the guys would be in there, and they use what they call a cripple K.
Do I have anything like it? Or not?
No, I was looking for one earlier, but I used to use these things too.
Yeah, when that was happening, yeah?
Yeah, when that was happening.
Looked like an injured one? Or what?
Yeah, like an injured one, see?
Yeah.
And just put a little piece of herring on there, about that long.
Uh-huh.
See, out of the side of a herring, I get 3 baits. Put one of them on there, and just let it flutter down through these herring, all these years, this school herring. And you pick up a coho every time.
Mm.
But you can see the coho going through them.
You mean they'd spread apart like the herring would split?
Well, on our downrig, or on our depth sounder, see?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because I had one of those there taking pictures,
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Pretty
But you can see the herring going through these here, or the salmon going after the herring. Oh, it's unreal, John.
I've never seen
many
that.
times like that. Many times.
I've never seen anything. One time I saw something coming by. I was sitting on a pier down by White Rock, and I saw something coming by, and every once in a while there'd be a reflection, silver flashing, silver flashing. And then all of a sudden 3 or 4 leaped out of the water. It went up just like a shower in reverse. Yeah. And I figured there was a fish underneath there, scared me or something, because there was nothing. There were no gulls or birds around.
No, there'd be fish underneath there
after me. Jump up like that. Yeah.
You want to see a pretty sight. Jan and Keith and I, we took off one morning about 6:30 in the morning. Foggy, you couldn't see a hand in front of your face. Mm-hmm. But I knew where I was going. I had compass. And you can see the sun up above, the lake, And we got out maybe a mile from shore. We still had about 8 miles to go where we're going. And big open spot. Sun shining in there. And here's a pod of killer whales in there. Arcus.
Just there. Silhouetted in the
feeding
spot,
in there.
yeah.
Just feeding in there.
Yeah.
Just
I'll bet.
beautiful.
That black and white of their bodies.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, there's certain things like that stand out in your memory. Yeah.
I had a friend from Ontario one time. He came out and I took him out fishing. Water was flat as a pancake. Beautiful sunny day. And we caught one salmon. We didn't have much time. We were coming in. And I'm trolling along, maybe 8 knots. And I look up and I see this thing coming towards us. I says, Harold, I says, what's that? I knew what it was. He looked and his eyes got big. Coming straight at us. Right on the surface was an orca.
That big dorsal fish?
Oh, right on the surface, the whole body.
Really?
Just like a submarine plowing along.
How can they swim like that?
Don't ask me, but this guy was.
Yeah.
And John, he come up and he got about from here to Bruno's house there.
Yeah.
And went down like that and come up on the other side of the boat.
I bet it took a half an hour for his eyes to get down to the normal size.
It took longer than that to clean Harold's pants out.
Oh, I've only seen him off the edge, but it sure ruins the salmon fishing. Oh gosh, after they went through, all we could catch was.
You just don't fish if you see the whales around.
Yeah, that's sure. They said you guys might as well move 50 miles up the coast. That's where the salmon are now. They said that when they come through, they flush them right out.
Remember that time, Jan, we were fishing off the Comox Bar there, and all those boats were around the point there at Laswell. Mm-hmm. And like that bay is maybe 30 miles long and 15, 20 miles wide. That's how much open space. Seen this splashing coming up along the shore of Hornby Island, a few miles away. Kept watching it, kept getting nearer and nearer. Must have been 10 or 15 killer whales. And they went right through that whole bunch of guys that were fishing up there. Boats rocking.
Swearing.
And we were about a half mile outside of them. We were doing all right. Oh, they were really going. But they migrate up through there.
Anybody ever hook one?
I don't think so.
Accidentally snag?
No, I'd hate to snag one. I'd hate to see one hurt.
Yeah.
I'd like to pet one someday.
It's terrible. Hook onto one of those, my God.
I think a guy'd be smart to hang on and bust his line.
Cut your line.
Yeah. Some guy in Lake Superior one time, my grandpa was out, and some guy out there caught a big northern one of those trolling rigs, the huge reels and the metal lines that they use to go really deep, maybe 200, 300 feet deep for the lake trout. He hooked one off of Isle Royal out there, and that thing, they couldn't move it. Swam around. The other guy said, cut your line, we want to fish.
Yeah.
I would have said, go jump in there. Cold, briny, deep, because yeah.
Well, there was maybe better fishing places than what we had, but up in Campbell River there, there's always a talk about the Painter's Lodge and all the Tyee Lodge. And the guys up there, there were lots of fish caught up there.
Yeah.
But a lot of fishermen too.
Yeah.
And if you got a fish on, you weren't alone. There'd be 40 boats all around you crowding you. They wouldn't give you any room.
If they saw somebody with
a fish on, he's got a fish, let's go.
Yeah, but then they get tangled up.
Tangled up, I guess so. They didn't care.
But they'd figure, well, that's where the fish are, eh? So they'd all go in.
Talk about sportsmanship. That's supposed to be a big sporting outfit up there, where you get a certain kind of pin for certain weight fish. Yeah.
Where is it, the Tyee?
Yeah, Tyee pin.
Yeah.
Tyee pool.
Crazy, yeah.
But you weren't allowed to use a motor on your boat at the Tyee pool. Just roll. But they used to get some big, big salmon in there. That's where they got the $25,000 prize.
They had a Sun newspaper tournament. There was a Norris that drew cartoons. Did you ever see any of the Norris cartoons of the fishing derbies?
I have, yeah.
Some of the things you're talking about, everybody gathers around the guy catching the fish.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
We were up in Telegraph Cove one time, John. Jan and I were in our boat, my buddy and his wife and 2 kids. One which was blind, they were in his boat. And we're all fishing together. A place called
Telegraph Cove.
Yeah, but it was rapids outside of Telegraph
the
Cove.
rapids.
I forget the name of the rapids. There was just fast water chasing, that's
Mhm.
all. And just catch fish there when the tide was changing.
Mhm.
We were catching fish. But this one fella, he kept cutting us off. He's an American.
Like you'd troll in a direction and he'd get in your
And
way.
he'd get in our way.
Yeah.
Or he'd cross our lines or come too close. He's always playing dirty tricks.
Uh-huh.
He said, okay, mister, I'm going to fix you. Well, I fixed him. I pulled our lines up. I put the downrigger ball down.
Yeah.
And
okay.
I went up close to him. Just as I got close to him, I made a sharp turn to the left.
Dragging your downrigger ball behind. Yeah.
That's right. You know what happened?
You got his gear.
I got everything.
Yeah.
That's the only time I ever took revenge on anybody else. But it was just, he was just ignorant.
Yeah.
I don't know why people do.
Do you ever fish off bridges when you were back in the Sioux area? Or
Once in a while.
You know how the guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
For
When
trout.
I was a
Sure.
kid.
Yeah.
Anyway, some of those were bridges where cars would go across.
Yeah.
These other characters out down there in the lake went. So we'd fish out in front. We'd catch nice fish. And so, in fact, I think maybe we had as good or better luck right out in front of our place because we didn't have the activity. I always like to go fishing where nobody else was because I have a feeling fish know what's going on up above there.
They're not stupid.
Yeah, they can hear.
Yeah.
They can hear with the sound hitting their sides.
Vibration,
Yeah. So if you could get there first in an area and be by yourself and not have had anybody fish there for a few hours, it often was better.
We always used to fish maybe quarter mile or half a mile away from everybody else.
Yeah.
And always caught salmon. Always.
So if you were trolling now, you use bait most of the time? Herring?
We used hoochies with a little piece of herring on it.
Yeah. Those little plastic.
Yeah.
Squid-like thing.
Squids.
Yeah.
But very, very seldom ever use herring by itself.
We were over there and they said, if you haven't got a red hoochie, you're not going to get any.
Well, that's
The
not
pigs.
true.
Well,
pigs,
white is awful good.
The white's good, so's them turquoise ones.
Yeah.
Glow in the dark.
Do you remember where the hoochies, how we started fishing for
You
hoochies?
bought them.
We used to fish with his brother on his brother's boat.
His brother was
I
a
had
charter
never
fisherman,
fished.
too.
I didn't even fish for salmon at that
No.
time. But we went into one of the marinas. What was it down by? What was the marina there?
Down by Crescent Beach.
Crescent Beach.
Yeah.
So we're looking around in the store there, and I picked up this hoochie, and I thought, that's kind of cute. So I said, look, I'm going to pick up a few of these for Peter.
Yeah.
That's his brother.
Yeah.
Well, we started using those, and Jesus,
Never changed.
Just got so
That
many
was it.
fish.
That was it. That was it. Used to use these. They used to use.
So with me, I go by the looks of the lure,
Yeah.
and I think, why was a fish? I'm like that. What?
I think she's got an instinct, don't you?
Oh, I know she
Yeah.
has.
Because knowing that fish would change color when she cooked it. And all
And
Yeah,
you-
and
you
I
know,
yours.
never knew anything about green ling or
Yeah.
ling
No.
cod or nothing.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
And you know, John, it's strange. I'd be driving the boat. Jan's fishing out of one side of the boat. Keith's fishing out the other side of the boat. Both of them using the same gear. Both of them out the same distance. She'll catch fish and he won't. Or he'll catch fish and she won't.
It's got to be the
Don't know
wake
how.
of the boat or the mold
Yeah,
or
the motion of
something,
the
certain way.
lure,
Yeah.
And don't ever let anybody tell you you can't catch sockeye when you're trolling. We used to catch lots of them.
That's what I've heard.
Lots of
Sockeye would not bite in the ocean.
Oh,
That's what I've heard.
lots of them.
Pound?
She caught a 12-pounder one
Wow.
time.
They're usually
Telegraph
3 or
Cove.
4 according to what I read.
Pound.
Well, 4 or 5 pounds, that's a big call.
Telegraph
Or
Cove.
sockeye.
Or sockeye, yeah.
Didn't
Big
even know
sockeye.
what it was.
And you got 4,
Yeah.
you got one 3 times normal size then.
We were up at Telegraph Cove with this other boat people. We were up there for 3 days, and we had our limit in the bucket, Jan and I, and she had this one that was 12 pounds. And the game warden told us what it was.
Yeah.
We didn't know
I
what
bet
it
he
was.
couldn't
We
believe
had
it
to
either.
ask
Huh?
him what it was.
We didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
It was big fish.
Well, as far as eating though,
Coal, the best.
no, halibut.
Well,
yeah.
halibut's good.
Halibut. Oh, in my opinion,
Yeah,
that's
well,
my
it's-
opinion.
yeah.
Halibut's right on the top.
But you can't always get a halibut. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I got this neat guy from Port Hardy. He comes over and he fishes up on Harvey Hall and Thalia and those areas, up in the Pikes Mountain there.
Yeah.
And he's a commercial fisherman and knows commercial fishermen. So he comes over and he brings me halibut.
Oh, you're kidding.
And I trade. These are caught the day before. You ought to taste. They've never been frozen.
Oh, they'd be good.
Well, that's where you gotta go, like up the other end, up Fort Hardy, not to get them.
Yeah. So he trades me flies. He says, "I like your flies, John." So, I like your halibut. This is a good deal. Right to the door with two of those plastic garbage bags full of halibut. I bet there was 45 pounds of halibut in there.
Buys a lot of flies.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I gave him.
That's where we used to catch big snappers too.
Red snappers. We caught 25-pound snappers up there.
I'll tell you the story of those snappers, and then I better go because I got a feeling late here. But we were out at South Bentling Arm, Carl and I, and we went out, and I went out to the dock, and I says, "Is there any charter boat here?" And they said, "Okay, yeah, but they're all busy. They're all loaded." And I says, "Oh, nuts!" And then there was a 90. Yeah, it was I think 90-foot or 85-foot wooden hulled sailboat, still with the masts, like a schooner.
Yeah.
Parked there. And one of the other skippers says, "Go over and talk to that guy." And he says, "Oh, I'll take you out, you and your sonny. I'll take you out fishing." And he says, "You'll be here at 4 o'clock right on tomorrow morning." And I says, "Sure, I'll be there." And so what happened was, in the meantime, I found these two guys from Calgary, and they were looking to go fishing too. And I says, "I found this charter boat. It's an unusual charter boat." I said, "I don't know how we're going to troll off of it because the deck was, about 8 feet off the ground." Yeah, it looks something like that.
Remember you and I were talking about him? Big, tall guy?
Yeah.
That's him, my nephew.
Anyway, he was the nicest guy.
And
you
cook,
were
too.
telling us about him.
You were telling me about
the picnic out there.
I told you the time it was my nephew.
I got to show you his pictures. I've got his pictures. I was going to do that, wasn't I?
Yeah.
And did you remember the story? Or I'll repeat it.
Yeah,
if you don't mind, then I'll get it on here. Anyway, these two guys from Calgary said, "Do you think you'd take us along?" I said, "I don't know. You go down and ask." So they said, "Sure, you come along." That was Thane, was it? Or Lenny?
Lenny.
Lenny.
Thane.
The Thane is the boat.
Is the boat.
Yeah. Anyway, Lenny said, "Sure, you come along too." So, bright and early in the morning, we're down in the dock. Nobody's there. So we go up and walk around on the deck. We crawled up on the boat, walked around on the deck. Pretty soon a sleepy head poked. It was Lenny out. He poked his head up.
He lived right on the boat?
Yeah, he lived in the boat. And he says, "We'll be ready in a few minutes. We were out on the town last night." So I says, "Okay." So Lenny says, "Just make yourselves at home, put your gear up there and all that sort of stuff." So he didn't have any fishing gear. It wasn't a fishing boat. It was
a charter boat for tourists.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all it was.
Sailing, yeah.
Yeah, a sailing boat.
Yeah. So I says, "What are we going to fish out?" He says, "Well, my partner's got this herring skip. It was an aluminum thing, welded, with the big pipes around the top. I remember that. Heavy. He said, "We'll tow that out along behind us." And I said, "Okay." So Carl was having the time of his life. He's like 10 years old.
Yeah.
All of this, boy, this was a real adventure. So he went and fished for piling perch. I had a jar of salmon eggs, and he was catching these little piling perch. They're about this long. Surf perch or whatever you call it. Right off there. Had a bucket full of them. And so finally everything got underway, and we took off, and we sailed out, and a wind came up. And I mean a wind. That was a long vessel, but it was kind of narrow. It wasn't really, didn't have much girth to it. And that thing was bouncing between the waves. Yeah. And I was in the cabin, and Lenny let Carl steer. And was Carl ever proud? Mm-hmm. I have to show you these pictures I got. Yeah. And Carl's got the big old steering wheel, and he's steering along. And Lenny says, "I think I better take the wheel, sonny." We're bouncing along through the waves. Just then, there's a hatch up here in the front.
I've never been on the boat.
That hatch cover flew off. Mm-hmm. Right over the top of the cabin. splashed in the water behind. I says, well, here goes your hatch cover. He says, I can't turn around. We'll broach. He says, we'll go in these waves. And it was really storming. And, you know, about 30 seconds after that hatch cover came up, this head popped up from the hatch. It was his first mate, drunk as a skunk. He slept up in the front all night. But when that cold water came down through the hatch, he popped his head out and his red eyes looking at us. So anyway, Lenny said, we can't keep going on this course. And so we went south Bentnick, not the north Bentnick. We went in the south Bentnick behind some islands. And that's where I caught that lingcod.
Yeah.
And then I caught the 2 snappers. And then I says, I thought we were going salmon fishing. So this guy's got out his herring skiff, and I got in that. And we trolled around for a while. Nothing happened, but he was hungover. Oh, gee, did he have a headache? He didn't want any part of this journey. I says, I'll tell you what, I'll jig out of the herring boat while you go back. So we went over and he clambered up on the dock, crawled back in bed. That's the last we saw of him for about 8 hours. Yeah. Anyway, so then I catch this, I caught the lingcod and the 2 snappers. And they saw me catching these from the boat. By the way, when those snappers came up, their eyes bulged out. And
the big, of the throat, yeah.
It's ugly.
They're ugly, yeah.
And so anyway, come on aboard. And so they said, it's time for lunch. And Lenny had shot a black-tailed deer on the beach the day before, something like that. And he had it in the freezer. He had a whole hindquarter. Right he had a little, down in here in the hold, there was a little kitchen, a tiny stove about the size of that thing there, and a fridge, nice sized fridge, and he had that cooked. He had that hindquarter cooked. He says, we'll have that. And then he brought out a great big bucket of potatoes and some carrots, I think it was. That was it. Was that good? After being out on the salt chuck like that, and he knew how to cook. It was really good taste.
All of Pearsons know how to cook.
and that was really good. So then he says, I don't want any more trouble, this storm here. And I said, well, let me fish for a little while longer. So I fished a little while longer. These other 2 Calgarians, they were seasick. Oh, man. I didn't even see them.
I was going to ask you.
No, they never caught a fish.
But they were there, though.
Yeah. Somehow they sobered up after we got in behind the island, though. You know, it was calm, and then that's where we ate. And I think they ate something, too. But I know I did, and Carl did. Carl is just, he's a true water boat. He just loves the sea. In that storm, he couldn't believe it. He was having a ball. It didn't scare him a bit. Anyway, so they said, we better go back. Maybe we'll find the hatch cover on the way back. So we went back, and we were all looking for the hatch cover. And got back to the port, and we couldn't find it.
Oh, it floated, but gone.
It would have.
In that storm, it was gone. So we got back, and that guy had sobered up. The first mate had sobered up, and he'd filleted the 2 snappers. He says the lingcod's good, but these snappers are better.
Oh yeah.
So he filleted them for me. I says, well, why don't we eat them? So we pulled into the dock, and he cooked us another meal. Now this time it was red snapper, venison, potatoes, and carrots. Was that good? Oh, it was better than...
We love the red snapper.
Yeah.
So then we got all done, and I said to Lenny, I'm going to send you some pictures, and I did. I sent him copies of those pictures that I'd taken. I said, this has been a great day. Now we got to settle up with you. And so Lenny says, well, each of you guys, $45 and the kids free. Yeah. We were out for 8 hours. 2 meals, had all that fun, and he just charged us $45 a head. That was just, that was 1981. Really, really good time.
He still lives on that boat.
Does he? I didn't know if it would still be afloat. He said it was built.
Certainly.
He said it was built right around right around the century. He said built.
Yeah.
Well,
and he remodeled the whole thing.
He keeps it in Victoria. He worked for years on that boat.
Oh yeah, for years and years and years.
Anyway. The sails weren't up. He was using the motor, his underwear, and his sheets, and his laundry was hanging on clipped on the sails, the ropes, the rigging.
Well, yeah, that's the way they did when they lived on this.
He didn't have his little French girl with him.
No, there was no girl. But there was an Indian girl that came down and gave us herring roe to eat. Have you ever eaten herring roe right off the... Oh, that was terrible.
I could never
I cannot, neither one of us can stomach herring, eh?
No, I
Tried it a number
I like
of
smoked
times.
herring.
Tried it a number, like everybody, how great this pickled herring is.
Can't go
I
that
just
stuff.
cannot eat it, I don't.
Anyway, that was an adventure. Skippered for parties to 18 passengers. Seafood barbecues and beer sailing special. And very affordable rates, that's for sure. He was sure
He
reasonable.
probably wasn't prepared to take anybody out when he was
In 81.
there.
I don't recognize all these luxuries.
No, he probably was just living on the boat and you wanted to go fishing.
Yeah, and he just did us a good favor, that's all. Yeah. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Thanks for giving me the clues on the lures and stuff. I'll play a little bit so you can hear. Okay, signing off February 3, 2000.